Welcome back to Module 7. This is video 2 of Module 7. And this video is mainly going to focus on after you've decided what type of program you're going to do, what are your next steps and how are you going to make sure that it is educationally effective? So the first thing is your program planning learning considerations. So you want to really dive into the educational content and decide what learning outcomes that you're trying to achieve. To do this, you want to ask yourself, what are the reasons for conducting this program? What is the need that you're trying to meet? And then what is the educational value of this program? These questions are meant to help you identify the overall program goals and inform your learning outcomes to make sure that, again, the program is being educationally effective. Learning outcomes are your next step. These are meant to describe the measurable skills or knowledge that a student is able to demonstrate after participating or attending your specific program. Guiding questions and coming up with learning objectives are, again, what is the purpose of the program? What is the objective? What are you hoping that students will be able to learn? And then how will you be able to assess or evaluate your program with this goal in mind? So what types of qualitative or quantitative data can be gathered and to physically measure the skills that you're hoping a student can have after participating in the program? So after figuring out the reasons that you have for motivating this program and figuring out what objectives you'd like to reach, you want to move on to tangible goal setting. So we have SMART goals. This is the method that health usually uses, but as peer educators, we do SMART goals, which means that they're specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. Specific as in what is the actual specific goal that you are trying to achieve? Again, what's that learning objective? Measurable, how are you able to measure that goal to ascertain whether or not it's being accomplished? Attainable, is it realistic for the presentation or the programming that you are putting on? Relevant, is it relevant to the content that is being presented? And then time bound, so is this going to happen immediately after the presentation is given? Is it going to happen a week later? Is it going to happen? Is it a lifetime goal? How is it time bound? So on your own, think about a current goal that you have in life, which can be something as broad as finding a job or something specific as in like trying to finish this module in the next hour. But let's take a moment to just kind of determine what your SMART goal is. So you can pause the video and do that now. So switching from SMART goals, we're going to move on to Pulse's Swivel method for writing learning outcomes. Swivel basically just means that the student will be able to. We like to use this format to say an actionable phrase. So at the end of the program, students will be able to accomplish, achieve, create, construct, etc. Your learning objective. So the example we have here is at the completion of the CPE program, students will be able to identify and describe the 5 roles of a peer educator. So you can see how this is a SMART goal, and it's also using our Swivel method. So at the completion of the program, students will be able to Swivel, and then you can use whatever sort of verb and then what skills you're hoping that they will achieve. So again, at the completion of the program, that's how it is time bound. It's specific because they will be able to identify and describe 5 specific roles of a peer educator. It's measurable again because they're able to identify 5 roles. It's attainable because we have presented the 5 roles in earlier modules. And it's definitely relevant to the CPE training and the programming in general. So that's a specific one. Hopefully that helps you understand what a specific learning objective would look like. This slide gives you a sample of some verbs that you can use in writing your learning outcomes. This is not a comprehensive list by any means, but feel free to reference this at any time. We'll also have more resources within the Canvas module for you. As we continue the video, we're going to go into program planning, evaluation, and assessment. So you should always be able to evaluate your programs and presentations in some way, shape, or form after you've completed the programming. So when making an evaluation, you want to consider when you're going to administer this sort of evaluation. Is it going to happen throughout the program, at the end of the program, a week later, a month later, what's it going to look like? You want to make sure that the questions used in the evaluation are pulled from the learning outcomes that you've written for that specific programming. And it also helps you gain a better understanding of who was there and why they were there. So usually some sort of evaluation is also going to include demographic information. So whether this be what class it was in that the student received the presentation, or what grade they're in at Cal Poly, or what major they are. You want to know what your audience is, and why they were there. So how did they hear about you? Was it through your marketing methods? Was it through recruitment method? It's really just going to teach you a lot about the overall process of the program and whether or not that was effective. You want to make sure that you're asking both quantitative and qualitative questions. If you haven't learned the difference between those two yet, quantitative data is numerically oriented. You want to know the statistics of who was there, who engaged with what content, what got the most attention, etc. It's usually these are the easiest questions to administer and use in your evaluation. And then qualitative is where people's feelings are. It's more rich data. It's more open-ended questions like we've talked about in earlier modules. They're very, very different in the way that quantitative is going to ask you more of a tangible numerical answer. And then qualitative is, again, more open-ended responses, and they're a little harder to create. Every presentation that we do always has this survey at the end. I'm not asking you to do that now, please don't. But every single slide that we have, every single presentation that we give, we always use this QR code, and this is our evaluation method that we use. Is students scan this QR code at the end of their programming to be able to fill out the evaluation. If you have specific evaluation questions that you've come up with for your programming, these can be included within this QR code, but this is the standard slide that you should be familiar with seeing at the end of a physical presentation. So again, this slideshow mainly went over learning outcomes, how to write them, learning objectives, and how to try and accomplish those, but also why evaluation and assessment are important and how to receive that program feedback. Module 7 definitely has a lot of content to go over, but is the bulk of what we do as peer educators and how to create effective educational programming. So hopefully it was helpful for you and you were able to learn more about your role within Pulse. One module left, and then you all will be welcome to certified educators. So thank you so much for watching.